What's up, guys? Mitch Pelk back again with another episode of Pelk Talk. Today I talked to possibly the best to ever do it, Ierlan. TD spent his first 2 years at Albany before transferring to Yale. TD has achieved over 10 NCAA face-off records. TD got drafted in this year's MLL draft, #1 overall to the New York Lizards. Recently after that, he went to Instagram and told everyone that he would be coming back to Yale for his 5th year. I cannot wait for you guys to listen to my guy TD. Also, don't forget to listen as a podcast on Apple, Spotify, and Google. Now, enjoy. What's up, guys? Mitch Pelk back again with another episode of Pelk Talk. Today joined by Yale's fogo, TD Ierlan. What's up, TD?
Not much. How we doing?
Good. Just out here in Northern Virginia. Where are you at right now?
Back home in upstate New York, Victor, God's country.
There we go. I like that a lot. Have you been back to Yale since you guys were kicked out?
Yeah, we went up. We were up there for about the last week and a half, 2 weeks. Just get all the guys back together, hang out, give it one last hurrah before everyone kind of, unfortunately, has to have their separate ways, more or less. But it was good to see the guys one more time. Gonna try and see each other again over the summer and catch up quick before a lot of people start real life.
I know, it's crazy. Well, let's start from the beginning. Growing up in Victor, New York, really a hotbed for lacrosse. What was that like?
So growing up in Victor, it's pretty crazy to see how it is now. So now it's this hotbed, and there's it seems 5+ guys that go D1 every year. But when we were growing up, I think we had 2 or 3 guys ever go D1. So our high school was not very good. Our youth program, when we were coming up, we just kind of wanted to make something special. And luckily all our dads were just coached us and just came up through the right system. We were lucky to play with guys from neighboring towns like Ben Reeves. He played with us all the way through.
Oh, wow.
And just kind of took good things from neighboring towns like Pittsford and Fairport, Canandaigua. These have always been the powerhouses around here. And just fortunate we had a good core group of guys together, and luckily we built something pretty special. And I think since then, the team's made the state finals the last 5 years. So it's pretty cool to see the team who had one sectional title before we were up there. So it's cool.
That's cool. So you said your dad coached you growing up. Did he play lacrosse in college anywhere?
No, he went to Cortland, but didn't play lacrosse. Didn't even know what lacrosse was. Coach Sudan, who is like my uncle basically, the Chrome coach, he kind of got my dad into lacrosse because he was a legend at UMass and on world teams, and kind of just taught us everything we knew. And he was pretty much our inspiration because could see him. He's pretty unathletic, kind of got a barrel and pigeon-toed, but he pretty much told us if I can be good at lacrosse, anyone can. And yeah, he's who got us into it, and forever grateful to him and all the other coaches at Fairport.
Yeah. So your brother's a goalie at Cornell right now. What was that like? Were you guys always growing up being competitive? You guys always kind of wanted to win?
Yeah, pretty competitive household through and through. Parents are competitive. No matter what we're doing, it seems like everything's a competition. Like whether it's like board games or a puzzle or anything like that, it just always seems to turn into a competition. And I think it's been good. A lot of hostile feelings sometimes, but it worked out pretty well for us. It was good. It's nice to have a brother growing up that just trains with you, and you can just lug him around to anything, especially being the younger one. I had a little bit of power over him. So
yeah. What's your guys' age difference?
He's 2 years younger, even though he's taller and got the good genes.
Okay. So you guys had 2 years at Victor together.
Yeah. So his freshman, sophomore year, I was lucky enough to play with him.
So you said you grew up playing travel ball. On what team?
So we kept our Victor team together for pretty much the whole time, and then ended up playing a little bit of Rochester Flyers and some Orange Crush. 2 good programs in upstate. Flyers a little bit smaller, but Coach Randall over at Naz did a great job just kind of teaching us little things that a lot of people didn't really learn in summer lacrosse, maybe going to like the premier teams like Sweet Lax and stuff around here. So it's pretty fortunate to get that. Got to play with Chase and get coached by my dad still. So it was an awesome experience playing for them. And then Orange Crush kind of went to the enemy territory over in Cuse, but they got some good lacrosse players. So made some good friends there and definitely learned a lot from them.
Yeah, I can remember my travel days playing Orange Crush. They were a bunch of hacks.
Yeah, still are.
They were two things. I remember they would hack you up, and then their possessions would just be super long. And it's boring because it's like a summer game, like you want to play, but then they'd be like holding the ball trying to win.
Yeah, play like actual systems.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So why did you never decide to go like traditional route with Sweet Lax? You know, I had the opportunity to play with them for a lot of the summers because my buddy Danny's brother was coaching them, so I had the opportunity to play with them. And it's a good team, obviously. So why don't you take that traditional route?
Back then, they just started getting into upstate around my freshman year, and I wasn't very good at lacrosse or sports because I was just so small. I was wrestling was my main sport, so I played football, I wrestled, and played lacrosse all the way through. So I really focused a lot on travel or summer lacrosse, and I was coming off my 8th grade year, going into my freshman year. I was like 100. I wrestled 106, so I was tiny. I was
Really?
really small.
Freshman
Yeah.
year?
Yeah, freshman year. So I was probably around like 103, 104 too. I didn't even cut weight. So I was tiny. And Sweet Legs didn't even ask me to try out or anything like that. So I pretty much got cut. I wouldn't have made the team. Freshman year, I hit a little bit of a growth spurt and got pulled up to varsity with a bunch of my other teammates, classmates at Victor, and just I still wasn't very big. I think I was like a 120, 125, but started kind of that's when I changed to being a face-off guy, and everything just kind of clicked. They asked me to play in a couple tournaments and stuff, but just didn't really work out because I had already committed to other teams and kind of wanted to enjoy my summer and stuff like that.
Yeah. So a guy on our team, TJ Hendricks, is from upstate, and he says you guys are boys, and he wanted me to ask about the Rochester Flyers. What was that?
Flyers, Flyer die. That was a good crew. I had nice guys like TJ, Brett Randall, my brother too. Stayed close with them all the way through today. Flyers was awesome. We didn't go to all the main level tournaments. If anything, we went to like the worst tournaments and just middle of nowhere. And but there's still good competition, I guess. It just some of the places we ended up were not too desirable, and I think those are kind of what made the relationships with guys like TJ worth it at the end of the day. Yeah, I mean, you're out at a summer lacrosse tournament. Of course, it starts raining. The fields are horrible, and just like everyone's miserable. You don't want to be there, but yeah, it was Rochester Flyers is definitely some great experiences I'll always remember.
I love that. Fly or die. I love that. So then attending Victor High School, Section 5.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. Very
Powerhouse. Were you kind of nervous for that first tryout on varsity that spring?
Definitely was super nervous just because it's kind of like the cliche everyone says, like the game gets so much bigger and faster at every level. And kind of that jump you take from high school to college, it's like the same thing going from like JV to varsity. Like you're going against men, especially for me. And I was lucky. I didn't have to do it alone, which made it way easier. I had, I believe, 5 guys they brought up with me, both the Barrow twins, Ryan Maloney, who's at Cornell, and then Mike DeMarco, I believe. And they brought all of us up, and it was luckily all of us kind of went through it together. So if we're going to suck, we're all going to suck together.
Yeah.
And it was definitely pretty nerve-wracking and just kind of like the first game with anything. And I guess relative now you look back, and for me it's not a big deal, but during the time it was such a big deal and super nervous, and luckily just kind of played well at the right times, and all 5 of us started getting confidence. And I think that just kind of fed off one another, and that allowed all of us to be successful, not just me.
Yeah. So you said you made JV your freshman year, right?
Yeah, freshman year.
And then towards the end of the year, you get pulled up, or did you not make varsity until sophomore year?
So I was on JV freshman year, and then our varsity team was not doing very well. I think something like 500, maybe a little under 500. And our JV team was pretty good because we had that core group of guys that were down there.
Mm-hmm.
And they were playing Pittsford actually, and they won like 1 out of like 25 faceoffs or something along those lines. And I wasn't really a fogo at the time, and Coach Andre, I'll still remember, he called me. I was in the middle of science class, and he calls me. He's like, "Hey, I need you to come to the weight room." I was like, "Oh boy, it's a little weird." And he's just like, "Yeah, so I heard wrestlers are good faceoffs, so you're gonna take faceoffs." I was like, "All right, sounds good." And he's like, "Yeah, but you're like doing it on varsity now." And I was like, "All right, no pressure." Doing something that I didn't even know really what to do, and
yeah,
then we're on varsity. So
That's kind of a cool experience. I mean, what was kind of going through your head? Like, obviously you're probably nervous, but like, did you honestly know what to do?
I had kind of no clue. I just remember watching Syracuse played Bryant in the first round of the tournament that year, and that was year Kevin Massey was like so good. So I remember watching him, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna try and do what he does. Clearly didn't do it as good as him at all. Like he way better than I was, but he was a wrestler, so I kind of think I could do stylistically similar things.
Yeah.
So I just kind of tried to emulate that. Had still like I guess my perception for what like I thought I looked like was so different from what it actually looked like, but I guess it worked. And then it was pretty crazy in like a couple weeks. I went from like not really knowing anything about face-offs, and then the first coach who talked to me was actually from Ohio State. It was Coach Kester, and he's like, "Hey, I'm
Yeah.
from Ohio State," and it like said Polo obviously said Ohio State. I was like, "Oh," I was like, "It's like, oh, nice to meet you." So it was pretty crazy experience to happen in like 3 weeks, going from like JV to then getting like recruited by top schools like that.
Yeah. Wait, so is that why your first picture on Instagram is at Ohio State?
Yeah, I was that
Really?
was the first school that talked to me, I guess. And I did back then. Instagram was just getting big, and like I had one picture maybe. Maybe that was my first one, but I was like, oh, I was really excited to visit Ohio State. It's a good
That's
time.
awesome. Yeah, because I noticed that, and I was going to ask that later. But so you grew up kind of playing wrestling and lacrosse your whole life. How has wrestling like made an impact on your face-off career?
Wrestling, I think, is just face off, and from a competitive standpoint, it's just I'm biased, very biased, but I think it's the hardest sport out there. Just like it's a lifestyle. You have to cut weight. You have to. It's just one-on-one. Like so, if you don't show up, you don't really have a team that's going to bail you out or things like that. So it's just such a one-on-one battle, and I really like that. At times, going through when you're in the midst of everything, it was pretty tough just to deal with all that stress and stuff of it being on you. But I think now it kind of helps me in just the competitive aspect of everything. Obviously, the flexibility and just kind of being in a face-off, it's a lot similar to like position jar and wrestling. So I think those are stylistically some things that help, but just the competitive nature of it is just awesome. And some of the guys who I wrestled with in high school, or I'm still really close with today. One that comes to mind is like Yanni, who's at Cornell, who's now a 2-time national champion, and just like things learning from guys like that are so elite really helped. I kind of transferred over to lacrosse.
Yeah. So do you think kind of the mental game of wrestling, you said the cutting weight, it's all on you. The mental part has helped you in your face-off career, with kind of face-off being its own mental game as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think just learning how to handle like the nerves and things like that is just the mental aspect, as you're saying. Just those things is just you got to get excited for a game, but you can't get too hyped up, and you can't psych yourself out. Things like that really helped me, and I guess two things, losing and wrestling and stuff, kind of really helped me learn that. And you got to learn the hard way sometimes, as unfortunate as it is, but I think things like that is probably the biggest thing you can take away from wrestling. And it's kind of why I recommend it to anyone that asks, what can I do to get better at face-offs? Wrestle helps you with anything. So,
that's kind of cool. I don't think I've ever heard that. That's cool. So what was the recruiting process like for you?
Yeah, so it started out great, and I guess I didn't really know what to expect. So we went to the sectional finals my freshman year. There was some coaches there. Lost in triple overtime, unfortunately, and then went to the Under Armour tryout in Upstate and kind of got most of my looks from there. Went on a bunch of visits that summer, and pretty much everyone just kind of came back and chose someone else and just pretty much said I was too small or like too unathletic or something. So that was a pretty tough thing to hear when you're a freshman, so like 14 years old.
Yeah.
So I think it was a pretty traumatic time. Like everyone who has like, I think it's not like my story is unique. I think a lot of kids go through that, but to hear like the guys who, I guess I'll rip on Docs a little bit just because I know him. And a guy like him who's the number one recruit forever and just like a stud who just probably had his places to choose from. I didn't have that experience. So I probably can still remember it. There was like one day 4 schools called me and just all said no. Syracuse, Penn State,
Wow.
Maryland, all in like the same day, just called me and they're like, sorry, I went with someone else. Like you just, for some reason, someone said like, I'm not athletic enough, whatever. was just a pretty tough go. And then same thing kind of happened. I was looking at Towson pretty heavily. Went through the next summer, was looking at Albany a little bit too, but some other schools like would go in and out. I remember it was one day I was supposed to go visit Loyola, and they called back and just said they didn't want me the day I was supposed to visit. So had some traumatic times there. I actually called to commit to Towson, and they told me they took someone else.
Really?
And the next day I committed to Albany. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I'll know Jack McNallen from New Hampshire. I'll never forget it because they told me that, and I was so traumatized. I told my parents, I was like, yeah, I'm going to go commit to Towson, and just, no, couldn't have been a worse phone call.
Wow, that's crazy. Fuel you to be a better player. I mean, getting that phone call or getting those phone calls, you said you got 4 in a day that all denied you. Like, that's got to take a toll on you.
Definitely. I think at the time, too, it's just,
With the whole young recruiting
you're just
process, you're a
young.
young
Yeah.
guy. Yeah.
I mean, sure, it's like everyone's been told no by someone along the lines. And it's just when it happens, it's nice for the kids now going through as like juniors, and at least you mature a lot in those 2 years. When you're young, someone telling you you're like not good enough is just, it's a really tough thing to take. I think it helps people grow up a lot, but it's hard for kids that young to hear, and like, especially it's such a life decision you're making at such a young age. So honestly, it's like I'm a pretty competitive person, and it definitely put a chip on my shoulder, and I still kind of have those feelings towards a lot of those schools today. But at the end of the day, I kind of have learned that I wouldn't be where I am without those experiences. So back then I definitely had a chip on my shoulder, but it kind of, everything works out for a reason. And kids I give lessons to and kids I talk to who go through similar experiences, everything will kind of work itself out. Like if you're good, someone's going to find you and give you a chance, and it works itself out. And I think I'm a classic example of that.
Yeah. So are you kind of glad the recruiting rules changed?
Yeah, I think so.
I think in your case
Yeah.
it's good because like you were a late bloomer, and the recruiting rules back then didn't really help late bloomers.
Yeah.
So and at the time, like everyone's so young, you really don't know where you want to go.
Yeah, I think yeah, exactly. It's such a good point. You don't really, it's such a serious decision. And like, I remember visiting Ohio State, like they had like the kids got, student athletes, I don't know if it's still the case, you got like iPads or something coming in.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the coolest thing. I want to go to Ohio State. And
Yeah.
just when you look back, and I guess I kind of went through the recruiting process twice, from going to Albany and then to Yale. So it's just, your perspective was so much different. Obviously, I had been in college for 2 years, but I just kind of think if you have 2 years when you're like a junior in high school, when people are starting to kind of think of college decisions anyways, even without school, it's just, you have so much more clarity on the situation. And it's such a big decision that some kids probably make irrational decisions back then. And you saw so many people decommitting that it was almost like, why commit in the first place? So I think they're good for a lot of things. I mean, some coaches might not like it, but I think it's better for the kids.
Yeah. So coming out of high school, being ranked as an incoming freshman at 58, do you think that was kind of like a low blow, or do you think that was honestly a good rating for you?
Yeah, honestly, I thought I was like lower, so I guess now it's pretty good. I thought I was like in the 60s or 70s. Yeah, I mean, it was honestly, I felt pretty slighted, but I kind of realized I didn't play some lacrosse year round. I didn't play on like an elite summer team. One thing I was pretty bitter about, and just not making the Under Armour game. 2 of my teammates made it, and they totally should have made it, but I just we'd won 2 state titles in a row, and I kind of felt slighted. Honestly, coming out of high school, I would have said I was probably the 3rd best guy, but Gerard and Christian, your teammate, actually were on Team USA for that summer. So I kind of figured I would have been the next guy up, and just they took 2 guys over me. So I was like, kind of felt slighted, but definitely, again, just kind of put that chip on my shoulder. And there's a lot of guys that if you look at, just were unranked coming out of high school, ranked really low, and just kind of proved people wrong. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's definitely, I think it was probably, I guess now, I thought I was in the 60s. What's that, low? I guess 58 is pretty accurate, but it worked out.
Yeah, for sure. So then you commit to Albany. You know, what were some factors that kind of attracted you to a school like Albany?
So Victor's got a big pipeline to Albany. I think there's 3 kids going next year. I went with another teammate, Patrick Bear, who's my roommate, freshman, sophomore year. and then there was John Maloney, Mitch Rupp. So there was just there and a bunch of other Rochester guys like Blaze Reardon we're really close with. So there was just a pipeline of people who I knew, and it seemed like a fun school. It's pretty close to home. The boys definitely knew how to have fun. It seemed like, at least when we visited and things like that.
Yeah.
And Coach Marr was awesome. He was super friendly, super nice. Had family nearby, so it just kind of seemed like it worked out. All the other options had kind of fallen through, and seemed like it just kind of made sense for me. It seemed like all the signs were pointing there, and it worked out. I mean, we went there, and they kind of made the pitch that I could be one of the guys that helped bring the team to a Final Four, and it worked out. Had great 2 years there, and it was met a lot of great guys. Was lucky to play with Twarton finalists and Connor Fields, amongst other guys like the Bergmasters and McClancy and JD Colarusso and the Rays. So great experience there through and through.
So when you kind of got there, did it feel like home from the start?
Yeah, I think it's when you go to college, it's like you don't really know. Yeah. So I guess you just don't really. I guess you kind of think it is. But I loved my time there. I was really close with the guys. It was cool to have a group that cared about lacrosse, and I think you kind of probably have this experience too. You come from high school and there's a couple guys maybe that really care about lacrosse, but then you get to somewhere and the whole team cares about it. And you just have guys that you're going to connect with, like, no matter what you do. If you like to go out, if you don't like to go out, if you're a big academics guy, there's someone for you. There's some people for you to connect with no matter what. So it was awesome to just be a part of a team, and just having that separation from home, I think, really helped me grow up. And just as everyone does, it helps you be independent. You kind of figure out what you need to get done.
Yeah, I think coming from like high school, maybe you can attest to this. Coming from a public high school, is like you do way more lacrosse playing at Division I level than I did at a public high school. That was kind of the biggest surprise to me. It was like, we're gonna lift and then practice, and then this isn't gonna stop until like the weekend.
Yeah.
So I that was kind of the biggest test for me. It was just like, wow, the stick is in our hands like way more than high school.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Especially, and then you guys have football games to look forward to on the weekends too.
Yeah. So what was kind of that aha moment in that freshman fall where something happened and you kind of realized, like, I got to pick it up. This isn't high school ball anymore.
I can remember it's the first scrimmage. It was first day of practice, actually. So we got there, all the seniors and upperclassmen were just super nice to us. They're like, oh, like, welcome to the team. And like, so it was going to be so nice. And at the time, Zach Ornstein, he was a starter his freshman year. He was out with, I believe, an elbow or shoulder surgery, something along those lines. So it was me and then another senior, Connor Russell. And he was kind of beat up too. So I was kind of our only face-off guy that could really go the whole time. And Coach Marr walks out, first day of practice. Everyone's excited, and everyone knows what's coming except the freshmen. They lay out this huge, like, practice plan, and we're like, oh, it's going to be, like, line drills. It's, like, pretty laxed and stuff. Get out there. Coach Marr literally just rips up the practice plan. He's like, all right, we're scrimmaging. And then everyone's so excited, except you got all the freshmen just in, like, their like, high school gear and stuff. And
Yeah.
so out of sorts. And they just pretty much made the team. And it was, like, freshmen and, like, just enough people we needed to survive versus, like, everyone, it seemed like.
Yeah.
In the first face-off, I popped it out, and I thought it was, like, so clean. And, like, in high school, I would have had so much time and just got, like, lit up. It seemed like guard sailed. Like, I think my stick's still in the air back at Albany. But
Yeah.
I was like, all right, welcome. I was like, this is a new show. And then so that whole practice and just first couple of weeks, you're definitely getting lit up. Face-off wise, I felt fine, but just the speed of play and everything after was just.
Yeah, that's one thing I realized too, is like the speed of play is crazy, way faster than high school.
Oh yeah, I'm sure, as you can attest to, especially Albany. I was lucky for the most part. We weren't a big team when I was there my freshman year, and I wasn't a big guy, so it kind of worked out for me. But Ohio State, you guys had some monsters, so like you guys probably came out and just like even a bigger jump right away.
Yeah. So then your first game, you guys play Cuse, and you go 6 for 21. How did that kind of like prep you? Because, I mean, obviously it's the first game, you're starting, your first start, you're all amped up, and then you end up going 6 for 21.
Yeah. Yeah, well, not a great start. Not the easiest start to come in as a freshman, especially from upstate New York. You go to the Carrier Dome for these games growing up your whole life, and you kind of like dream about playing there, and like you just kind of picture for so long. And then I was going against Ben Williams, who was a reigning 2-time All-American. Senior, he was a man. He was so much bigger than me and just definitely one of the best in the country.
Mm-hmm.
And I just let the moment get to me. It was kind of like it happens pretty much to everyone at some time their freshman year, and the moment just got to me. And I think if that helped me so much though going forward, almost as I said, like the losses and stuff in wrestling, the experience and stuff I got from that game just kind of showed me what I need to get work on. It was just like I got to get better. There's just really no excuse, like more reps, more get bigger, stronger, things like that. But it's just I was just a little kid out there, and I was going against a man, and I kind of realized that's like how it was going to be for a little bit unless I got bigger. So I needed to kind of it was a tough pill to swallow, but in the end, it as devastating as it was definitely a good thing for me to go through.
Yeah. How do you prepare for facing off? Like, how do you get your kind of mind right for the games?
So I'm not a super loud and like I can't really listen to like I have my routine. I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious. That's kind of what we say at Yale, but I just kind of have a routine. I kind of learned to perfect it over the years, and I keep to myself for the most part. If someone talks to me, I'll talk to them. I'm not like super like I can't talk to anyone, but if I scream and yell before the game, I'm gonna go out and go early 3 times in a row, and that's definitely not what I need, and definitely not what we need either. I kind of stick to my routine. I have Friday night, always go out and get like eat same place and go with usually the same group of guys and just kind of have a routine and just like stick to it. I'm not outgoing, just kind of stay level-headed. Just kind of what I would do in wrestling. It kind of taught me to take that approach and just be level-headed, stick on a routine, and then I just feel ready to go.
Yeah. How do you handle a couple losses in the face-off game? So you lose a couple in a row, and how do you handle that mentally?
I think the biggest thing is just you got to stick true to what you're good at, and then if it's really not going well, you got to change. So if I lose the first 2 or 3, I'm still going to stick to what I do. But if I lose 4 or 5, then I got to start making changes. I think you see a lot of guys, everyone's so good in high school, and you don't need to change. And then you get to college, and everyone just has their move they're really good at. So sometimes you don't match up well with someone, so you have to change. And that's the thing I kind of, over my 4 years, I've gotten better at. And I think that's what happens with most guys is you just learn to adapt, things like that. It's people just get stubborn and set in their ways, and I did too. And you have to learn to kind of adapt. So whether it's a little thing like less pressure on your hands or get into rotation faster, I just kind of change it up after things aren't going well for a while, but try and just stick true to who I am and listen to the whistle and just try and react.
Yeah. So then sophomore year, you fields Tahoka against Denver with Trevor Baptiste. What was that moment like for you? Because I think that was honestly like the biggest game where everyone was just talking about facing off. I think the first time ever.
Yeah, that week was crazy. I felt like a mini celebrity that week. There was honestly media for like 2 hours a day. It seemed like I was doing interviews, and we had just actually no, I had 3 finals that week too, and it got to the point where I was like, yeah, I got like a final I got to go to right now. So on top of everything, definitely to make it easy to have those. But it was a pretty crazy week. I think I got some great advice along the way. Drew Simino is NAS alum. He's on the Water Dogs now. He helped me tremendously. He came up 2 times that week, and I've worked out with him for years. He's taught me everything I know. And everyone just kind of built up as such a big matchup. And I think it's hard to tell, but if Trevor wins that, it's pretty like unanimous. He'll go down as like the best ever. And they go to a Final Four, and there's just so many things going on and so many implications other than just the game. And I knew I knew going in, I thought we had a pretty good game plan. Just like at the end of the day, Drew told me, he's like, no one really expects you to win any. So if you win one, you're doing fine. It seemed
Yeah.
like blunt, but it just kind of realized like
True.
having that corner dog mentality and just like you against the world, it's so much easier to get up for that than if you're being hunted. So being a hunter and stuff just was helped so much in that game. And my wings did a great job. Our coaches, we had a great game plan. I think Denver really did too. So I think we split 15-15. It was just, it kind of tells the story. It was pretty evenly split battle, and we did what we needed to do to win.
Did you and Trevor exchange any words ever?
This is like everyone's favorite question. As much as like how it would seem great, like we didn't say anything. I think there was honestly he made some pretty funny jokes. I think throughout the time, like I met him at Vail, Colorado, for that tournament out there over the summer, and he came up to me around like when it was like crunch time. I want to say it was like 12-11 or something, and it was like downpouring. He's like, "Oh, this is way different than the meeting in Vail, Colorado." And he was just like, I was like, "Oh, that's pretty funny." But no,
Yeah.
I mean, we respect each other a lot. I mean, everything he's done for the position is just he's kind of just brought the great notoriety to it. So I'm not really going to sit there and trash talk him. I'm not that good. I've gotten a little bit better. I was horrible at it my sophomore year, so I really have too much to say to him, and we kept it pretty cordial, but there's just a lot of respect. It was
The season ends and you enter the portal and transfer to Yale. Why the transfer?
academically the things an Ivy League school can do for you, and I knew that going with my brother had job offers when he was going into Cornell. Like, so when he was going to be a freshman at Cornell, was already set for the rest of his life, and I just was looking for something like that, and I don't know. I guess I just kind of realized I had a talent, and I'd be doing myself a disservice if I couldn't use it to go and get the best education possible. Um, I think what Coach Shea did at Yale and kind of how he built the program from nothing, it spoke volumes to me, and just everything I'd heard from the guys I knew at Yale, it just seemed like a great spot. Obviously, you're going to get the Kevin Durant jokes and stuff going to like the defending national champions, but
Yeah.
I kind of realized it was going to be a challenge going there. I mean, they beat us, but they lost 8 seniors that all started, and they lost like 5 All-Americans. So just the education and I think the alumni connection there, especially for lacrosse, is the best in college lacrosse for sure. I mean, when you have a guy like Joe Tsai who runs one of the biggest companies in the world in your corner, that helps with a lot. And amongst others, like just the education and alumni connections, it's a decision that set me up for the next 40 years of my life. And as much as it's tough for me to leave Albany and a lot of people still hold grudges over me for that, it's like the decision set me up for the rest of my life. I'm not bitter towards Albany. I wouldn't be where I am without them. And still, some of my closest friends from Albany that I had when I was there, most of them are still there with me today. And at the end of the day, those relationships are really, as you know, what's like important about college sports.
So when you committed to Albany, was Ivy League schools always in the back of your mind? Like, I want to go there, I want to there, but I'm not kind of getting the looks I want from school, so I'm just gonna commit to Albany.
To an extent, I wasn't the greatest student in high school. Uh, I am kind of with that young recruiting. I didn't really realize how important it was until it was too late.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like a B plus student, but that just isn't going to get you into an Ivy League school. And sometimes a B student. But so I remember Cornell was talking to Chase, like, yeah, we were really looking at your brother, but after seeing his transcript, we just don't know if he's our type of guy. And they put it like in a very nice way.
Yeah.
But I just didn't realize how important school was, but I'd always kind of had it on my radar. I guess when I was younger, recruiting wise, I didn't really want to go Ivy, but by junior, senior year in high school, I kind of realized how important it was. I remember I told JMO and Lucas this all the time when I saw they were 2 really big recruits and committed to Yale. And I was like, talking to my dad, and I was like, why would anyone want to go to Yale to play lacrosse? And I was just, and if myself saw me in like 4 years or 5 years, whatever it was when I'm at Yale, that like freshman year self would have been like, you're such an idiot. But
Yeah.
glad I made the decision now.
Why would you say you kind of made that kind of comment? Do you think because it was just kind of like a smart school? Like, why would anyone want to play lacrosse there?
Yeah, I just didn't. just being naive. Like I didn't realize how important it was, and that's like freshman, sophomore year, and both my parents like I'm the oldest, so they've never gone through recruiting, and they both stayed pretty local for college. So I guess we just didn't realize how important an Ivy League degree is and how many doors it opens. So just like you don't know what you don't know. So that was kind of like I just kind of thought it was a bunch of like nerds and smart kids, and I didn't realize how important it was. I just kind of thought it was like just kind of tryhards went there,
Yeah.
and yeah, and then just my brother. I think I owe it all to him because if he ended up somewhere else, I probably don't end up at Yale.
So what other schools were you looking at in the transfer process?
Well, unlike my high school experience, the transfer was actually awesome. I had my pick of schools, but right away I pretty much narrowed it down to Yale and Cornell. I was pretty set to go to Cornell right away, but just I kind of Yale just wouldn't leave me alone, and I was like they're gonna kill me if I don't come visit because like they had every kid on their team seemed reached out to me like daily. John Jealous. This will be a good tire pump. He needs it. But he was a captain last year, and he literally wouldn't leave me alone. He had a banking job in New York City, and he was up at like 5 a.m. texting me the whole day. He's like, "Yeah, I was the worst intern that whole summer, but I got you recruited." But he just basically I went in the transfer pool. It became official like at like 3 o'clock or something, and I didn't even know it was official. And Coach Shea called me at like 3:01. He's like, "Hey, TD, this is Coach Shea from Yale." And I'm like, "I know who you are, Coach. You just destroyed us like 2 weeks ago." I was like, "Congrats on the national title." And I don't think he was like really expecting me to say that. And I don't know. But then I talked to him for like 3 hours, and I was getting a bunch of texts from other coaches, but I didn't really have any intentions on hearing him out. But he just kind of like seemed like my type of guy. And he was just awesome the whole time. And the things he was saying about Yale was just, I was like, all right, I really got to give this place a look and an opportunity. And just Ben Reeves, as I said before, I played with him, and just growing up with him, it was super close, and he had nothing but great things to say. So it was just, they kind of willed themselves, they weighed on me. And eventually just, as soon as I got on campus, just kind of that feeling of home, like it just felt right. Even like no one was there. I met a couple guys from the team, and they just all seemed like me. And I was like, I got to come here. As much as it's going to be tough for my parents could have both been at Cornell, and it was a hard decision, but I'm glad I did it. I think me also going to Yale, it was nice for me and Chase to kind of have our own separate things.
Yeah.
I think he now at Cornell, he's Chase, and like I'm at Yale, I'm TD. Like if we go together, like it's just kind of like you're one package together.
Yeah,
it's not like your own person.
you're known as the Ierlan brothers.
Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest adjustment from Albany to Yale?
The Ivy League schedule, the classes were not as bad as I thought. There wasn't any multiple choice test, despite what I was waiting for. I remember I was talking to I think like Sessa or Ty maybe, and we go in. It's like 3 weeks in. I had like 2 tests, and I went to like whoever it was. I was just like, "Do you guys not do like multiple choice tests here?" And they're like, "Yeah, no, we don't really do those here." And I was like,
so what is it? Just all short answer?
yeah, short answer IDs. So it's not like bad, but
Yeah.
just like multiple choice tests are the best. The answers are there. You just got to find them, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So, yeah. So I think that was a big adjustment. Academically, it's just like, it's Yale. So it's one of the best schools. So it wasn't too bad, but you just really got to like be diligent, be on top of your work. And then I think because the Ivy League schedule is so weird with fall ball and restrictions, it's just, your lifts are weird times. You have captains practices, and they're just going to pop up here and there. But it's kind of like that uncertainty and stuff just like gets everyone closer, because you just have to always be paying attention and always be ready to go. Because like maybe 7 o'clock rolls around one day and everyone had work, and they're like, all right, captain's practice and like later today or something like that. So just that adjustment of like nothing's really set in stone just because of how weird the
Ivy League is.
Yeah, exactly. But it's definitely, I think, once you learn to get used to it, it's fine.
Yeah. How does that kind of make you feel that you're kind of in the conversation of the best ever?
I guess I don't really think about it. I don't know, I guess when you're a kid, you always like think you want to be like the best ever, or things like that. And then once you hit college, as you know, it's like things just kind of like happen, and it hasn't really hit me. And I guess I'm lucky because as soon as you start thinking about how like good you are, that's like when karma just bites up on
Yeah.
you. So I haven't really gave it too much thought. Honestly, it's just like I just feel like I've met so many people and so many more relationships because of lacrosse and the doors it's opened. I guess I don't really think about too much of being like the best. Like that's the goal is like, I guess I kind of always said like I wanted to be the best, but like everyone says that. And I haven't really put like too much thought. Like me and Trevor like each other. Like we it's not like either of us have hostility, but when everyone says between me or him who's better or who's who, it's like it's okay. Like you can have your opinion on who you want. Like I'm sure he thinks he's the best, and I mean I got nothing but respect for him. Like my goal is to be the best at one day too. So we'll see. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it too much. It's cool to get like little kids that like say you're like the best and stuff, but I haven't thought about it too much yet.
Yeah. So then a couple weeks ago, you took to social media that you're going to come back for your 5th year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, was that process hard?
Yeah, that process was very hard. The thing so at Yale, all the other seniors, so we had 9 of us that were going to come back out of the 11, which is pretty crazy, being that none of us were on scholarships or anything like that. So we have to pay, and we ended up, I was the only one allowed to come back because I haven't used my 8 semesters at Yale, and you're only allocated 8, and grad students can't play at Yale. So I can come back and use that and use my final year of eligibility. And I don't know, it's kind of tough because my brother's at Cornell and you see those guys going back and all those seniors. And I think it's pretty ridiculous that Yale's not going to let us back. It seems kind of arbitrary to like keep these pre-existing rules for a time that like, that's why they're not letting anyone back, is because they have these rules that they're not willing to break. And these are just unprecedented times, and extreme times call for extreme solutions. And
Yeah.
I don't know, just seems pretty ridiculous on my view, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just told like the seniors, and because if there's anyone I felt bad for, just like those are your brothers and like you play with them. And I was just like, guys, like there's an opportunity I can go back. Like obviously I think it's kind of BS that like we all can't go back. I was like, what are your thoughts? Like if anyone has an issue at all, I don't hold it against you at all, because I feel pretty guilty if I can go back and none of you guys can. And Colin Courtney texted right away and then called me, and he was just like, if you don't go back, I'm going to be mad at you. And everyone was just inanimate, and they're just like, why would you consider not going back if you can go back? And it's just pretty crazy the job Coach Hay's done, just the Yale program, that guys need, even if they can't do it, they wanted me to go back so bad and just kind of finish out on the right tone and just represent those group of seniors that didn't get to do it. And it's I mean, it's tough. Obviously, like everyone thinks they had this year. I think there's 20 teams saying they were going to win the national championship because there was so much uncertainty.
Yeah.
But like, I just think we had a pretty complete group, and as anyone else, I think we could have won. I mean, you had like, we were pretty complete as many other teams were, but just no one really knows what would have happened. And it's tough not to be able to kind of write the ending to your story. And
Yeah.
now I kind of have a chance to do that for me, but also just all those seniors that weren't given that opportunity.
Yeah. So you said that Yale. Wait. So the rules with coming back, are they school rules or is it an Ivy League wide rule?
School rules. Cornell, Penn, and Brown have allowed their students to come back. I know those 3 are for sure, and then Harvard, Yale, Princeton are not letting them come back. But I know Cornell's letting their kids come back. Chase is a pretty reliable source for that.
Yeah.
So it's a school decision because the NCAA obviously said NCAA allowed everyone back, and the Ivy League was split on the decision, so they left it up to individual schools, and just kind of seems, I don't know. The thing that's tough is like, if Yale was going to make this decision and not let us back, they could have told all of us 2 months ago when the NCAA said that we were going to get another year of eligibility, instead of making everyone wait and think that we can come back. and just like grad school opportunities closed up for a lot of kids on our team because of it. And like people like filled up with scholarship and stuff because we were still waiting on Yale, and it seemed like we were going to be allowed to come back. And just like the fact that it was an institution decision and our athletic director was out on the field with us and said, we're going to do anything possible to make it right and make a season for you guys. And then like the opportunity was given to us, and then just like not remotely what they told us, you know, like it's pretty crazy just to like, so I don't know. And then it's also just, we weren't even told, like how I found out we weren't allowed back and all the rest of the seniors was our athletic director sent out a tweet, and then one of my buddies, Stephen Rafis from Syracuse, was like, you guys aren't allowed back. And I was like, well, that would have been nice if like we would have been told instead of like, you guys sent a press release on Twitter, like just pretty ridiculous. So it's an institution decision to kind of long-winded vent, I guess, that stuff on my chest to get off, but it's an institution decision that they had rules that they weren't willing to break. And it's what it is. Like, not like me saying anything's going to change their minds, but just wish they would have handled it with a little more clarity and would have let us actually know it wasn't possible.
Fast forwarding a year from now, you know, what are your plans after Yale? Is PLL in the mix?
Yeah, I definitely want to play professional lacrosse. Whatever league gives me the opportunity would be awesome. And I think both leagues have something great. I think there's a couple of draws with the PLL and also the MLL that are just different because just how the leagues are set up. I think, as I said before, like Coach Sudan on the Chrome, it would kind of be a dream come true to play for him.
That's cool.
And just kind of crazy how it would all come full circle with that. But same thing, MLL has a lot of guys I played with at Albany. I think I'm going to end up living in New York City, and that would be close and make everything pretty easy. So, I think there's good things about both, but I don't know. I'm down for whatever.
So is the goal to kind of play professional and have a job at the same time?
I think probably a little less serious of a job than some of my other friends, but probably lacrosse is going to be my main job, and then maybe I'll have something on the side, but kind of want to try and start both, but it's pretty easy you can't come back to professional lacrosse just because, you know, circumstances. You can always come back to a real job.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that kind of wraps up our talk here, but one last section. It's called Quick Talk on Pelk Talk. Favorite food?
Chicken parm. Yeah.
Biggest hack?
Probably Chris Fake, man. That kid hits hard.
Biggest chirper?
Matt Gaudette, bar none.
Okay. What comes to mind when I say Roch Vegas?
Best place on earth. Garbage plates for sure.
If not Yale and Albany, then?
Cornell. Chase goes there.
Okay. Best college memory?
Beating Penn State in the Final Four.
Best teammate you've ever had?
I think because he doesn't get the appreciation other people do, Colin Courtney. Kid who never played. Probably best teammate I've ever had.
Funniest guy on the team?
Brian Ward. Oh, my God. Yeah.
What comes to your mind when I say Yale lacrosse?
Competitive.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Hopefully still playing lacrosse.
Okay. With a job too or no?
I don't know. Hopefully. If I don't have a job, hopefully it means I'm doing well at lacrosse. So.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, TD. Thanks for coming on Pelk Talk. Where can the fans find you at?
TD_Ierlan. I have a Twitter, but I don't really use it. So.
Well, TD, I really appreciate you coming out for Pelk Talk. A great conversation, and I hope the fans like it. But thank you. We'll talk soon.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Sweet. See you, brother.
Yeah.